Hey, Autumn. Yeah, I have hoodie color redeems now. I have lots of new redeems. Alright, this is going to be a new enemy type, so I'm going to have a lore to read. Yep. What is this? Sword Taoist. Okay. Why are Taoists like evil demons in this game? Isn't Taoism supposed to be like peaceful? And like being one with nature and stuff? I don't know. I don't know anything about this. I shouldn't talk. To seek the Tao, he journeys far. With steadfast heart, he finds the gate. In the depths of sword skills, he glimpses roots of ascensions innate. Every 10 years, the Temple of Yellow Flowers opens its door to recruit disciples. One day, a newly admitted young Taoist discovered that the disciples focused on innate practice were divided into 3 different groups based on their skills. One group used staves, another used fly whisks, and the third used swords. The young Taoist observed them closely and noticed that the disciples who used staffs and fly whisks were also responsible for various chores around the temple and had less favorable living conditions. In contrast, the disciples who used swords only needed to focus on their training, and they were even privileged to receive daily guidance from the master. The young Taoist secretly consulted the senior disciples and found out that the sword disciples were also the quickest to achieve enlightenment and ascension. However, becoming a disciple of the sword group was no easy task. It required passing a rigorous examination by the master, and only those deemed to have the highest potential were given the opportunity. The young Taoist visited each senior disciple, noting down the questions the master had asked them in the past, and made thorough preparations. Eventually, he succeeded in his endeavor, winning first place. The master personally tied his hair into a top knot and bestowed upon him a sword. From the moment he joined the sword group, he woke up every day to train under the supervision of the commander Beetle. In the afternoons, he strengthened his chi under his master's guidance. Though the life was monotonous and arduous, he was very content. After more than a decade of rigorous cultivation, the disciples of Sword Group finally earned the master's approval. Translation! The master informed them that their skills were now proficient enough for them to enter the mountains for secluded meditation. If they were fortunate enough, they could achieve their ascension. Who the fuck are you? Are you a pipe Taoist? Fly whisk Taoist. The wide robe and crane cloak flutter in the breeze. Why compare the righteous with unrighteous, please? Praising virtues and merits disturbs the sweet dream. Whisking dust and sweeping earth disrupts the serene theme. In Petalfall Hamlet lived a Taoist. He had taken his vows last and was the youngest, and thus the Grandmaster doted on him. He too was glad to wait on the Grandmaster at all times. If the Grandmaster extended a hand, he served tea. If the Grandmaster lifted a foot, he removed his shoe. He swatted flies, fanned the breeze, made the bed, and tidied the covers quick and thorough in his duties. The Grandmaster favored him greatly. Welsh Gamer says, could Sword Group mean mercenary company? No, I think the name of their party is the Sword Group, but the issue is that there was no article before it, so it's like, so Sword Group did this, but it was also in lowercase, so it's not proper noun. Just bad translation, bad grammar. Poor grammar. If the Grandmaster extended a hand, served tea, blah, 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 tidy covers quick and thorough in his duties, the Grandmaster favored him greatly. His fellow disciples burned with jealousy, but they couldn't stoop to such fawning. They could only speak ill of him behind his back and bully him to vent their ire. One day, the Grandmaster held a test to assess his disciples' learning. When it was the youngest's turn... This is what I mean. When it was the turn of the youngest. What? What does that mean? Just say when it was the youngest's turn, he decided to be lenient with him. The master decided to be lenient with him. That's another ambiguity issue. Ah! He only asked him to recite a passage from the scripture of Tao Te Ching. The young disciple put on a smug face and chanted in a loud, clear voice, the Tao produced 1-1, produced 2-2, produced 3-3, produced all things. The other disciples had long awaited this moment, and their wish was finally granted. They roared with laughter and even stole glances at the Grandmaster to see his reaction. The Grandmaster, furious, stormed off in a huff. The other disciples then warned the young one, you've committed a grave blunder and incited his anger today. Don't dream of learning any solid skills from him now. What's a solid skill? After that incident, the Grandmaster shunned the youngest disciple, but then he found he had no one to wait on him properly. Over time, he reminisced about the young disciple's attentiveness. Before long, the disciple was summoned to serve him again. But when he saw the disciples' disinterest in Taoist learning, his aversion returned. One day, the young disciple implored the Grandmaster to teach him some skills, and the Grandmaster took the fly-swatting, fan-waving motions the boy did each day and made them into a set of moves. Who knows if it was meant as sarcasm. In the end, he taught the boy those moves and wind-wielding techniques, and that was all the boy could hope for. Oh, God. Could I have one speck of quality in this game, please? I'm begging you. I'm begging you, video game. Just have one ounce of quality assurance, please. Please. I'm begging. Bee Mountain Stone. Daft Taoist. Fairy mountains, clouds, and waters are connected to the horizon, and home is nowhere to be seen. Holding a stick, I walk far into the dangerous nest and enjoy the white snow and yellow buds. Long ago, a mountain village sat on a ridge teeming with insects. Strange things kept happening, so the villagers all moved out, leaving it a deserted village. In the village below lived a young man. His mother had died, and his father was a poor wastrel who paid him no mind. The villagers looked down on him and often abused him. He felt he couldn't endure such disdain, so he fled to the abandoned village. Little did he know that the village was claimed by a swarm of insect guais. As soon as the young man reached the ridge, the Yaguai seized him. He didn't fight back, as a deep-rooted death wish stemming from a life without attachments had long infested his heart. Seeing his resignation, the insects didn't harm him. Instead, they provided him shelter in a dilapidated shack. That night, a middle-aged Taoist brought him food and clothing. I heard you have nowhere to go, so I brought you some things for daily use. If you don't mind, take me as your master and stay here. I can teach you practices for ascension. The youth hadn't been cared for in so long. He eagerly donned the Taoist robe and performed the rites to acknowledge his master. From then on, he lived and trained with insect guais. They spent their days dining and walking together, and at night they slept side by side. One day, a scholar barged into the young man's room. I've just escaped from a Yaoguai's lair. They had trapped me in a cocoon sack, and I'm unsure of their intentions. I'm fleeing this place. You're human, you should come with me. The young man shook his head. I'm content here. Why should I leave? The scholar grew angry. Because they're Yaoguais and you're human. Even if they don't harm you, staying with them long enough will turn you into a Yaoguai as well. You're right, the young man said as he grabbed his staff and knocked the scholar to the ground. But even then, I turn into a Yaoguai. If I turn into a Yaoguai, I'll do it gladly. The scholar deemed that the young man was past saving. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he crawled out the door and fled alone. Why wasn't it letting me move forward? I have the skill that lets me move forward when I do that. Why was it doing that? It was fucking annoying. Jeez. I have more will than I know what to do with at this point. Snake herbalist. Pine, bamboo, plum grant him a blue hue. Yet hearts of jackals, tigers... When it says blue, it means green. Yet of hearts, jackals, and tigers and leopards he possesses true. Collecting herbs from mountains and streams, no desire to aid the world lost in selfish dreams. In the old days, there was a Taoist temple at the foot of a purple cloud mountain. An ascetic Taoist nun, worn from her travels, sought shelter there one night. The temple nuns, moved by her devotion, offered her hot water and fresh clothes. As she bathed, the nun heard a sound from the rafters. Without showing any sign of alarm, she put on her robe and nonchalantly picked up her fly whisk. With a gentle flick, the whisk stretched and coiled with her motion, snaking up to the rafters and seizing a Yaoguai. Alerted by the commotion, the temple nuns rushed to the room to investigate. On the ground crouched a snake guai with green scales, unfazed by its capture. It seemed the nuns had been its prior victims, now taking turns to scold it. The snake guai looked at them with contempt and puffed out its cheeks to spew green venom in every direction. Anyone struck by even a drop collapsed at once, writhing in pain. As the guai had no remorse, the nun took out a wispy golden needle, prepared to destroy it. Only then did the snake show fear. It pleaded at once, I am just a lesser herbalist guai from the mountain. In my basket outside is an antidote for them. Please, will you spare my life, immortal lady? Hearing its sincere plea, the nun granted it mercy. The guai rummaged in its basket and handed her some small white pellets. These are the leaves of the pearl tree. They're rare in the mortal world and can cure all venoms. It fed one to each Taoist nun, and they recovered at once. After that, the temple had tree pearls on hand, and many afflicted by venom came here to seek aid. But the high cost of a tree pearl meant many, unable to afford it, had to face a toxin's fatal outcome. I think My least favorite part of the game is reading long stretches of lore. Which is crazy, because it's my favorite part of most games with stuff like that. I'm like one of those freaks who has read every single book in Morrowind. like I've done it. Stop throwing stuff at me, freaks. What are you thinking? Okay, so that's a tiger snake. That's clever. That's a clever design. Snake Sheriff. A head so large, a tail so thin, 7 feet long, a patterned form, electric eyes, fierce and strong. With tiger stripes, it boasts with pride, yet beneath its head a strange guise hides. In the mountains, there is a tiger with a strong desire for the Tao. He traveled across high mountains and great rivers, seeking a Taoist temple to practice. However, his Taoist affinity was thin, and he couldn't find a master willing to accept him until he reached the webbed hollow. You guys are making this hard on me. His Taoist affinity was thin and he couldn't find a master willing to accept him until he reached the webbed hollow, hoping to become a disciple under an accomplished mortal. At first, the immortal master disdained him for being a mere tiger, unlike his other disciples, and refused to see him. The tiger knelt outside the mountain gate for several days without rising. The immortal master, sensing his sincerity, gave him a chance and accepted him as an outer disciple. Unexpectedly, the tiger had no steadfastness. After the initial further, he didn't put in the effort. The immortal master advised him, one's practice relies on oneself, not the master. But the tiger couldn't grasp this and was punished to guard the mountain at the Forest of Ferocity. Feeling resentful, the tiger became even lazier, spending his days idly around under a tree, cursing his master to pass the time. One day, while half asleep under the tree, complaining about his master, he suddenly heard a soft sigh and felt something slip into his mouth. Startled, he sat up, but there was no one around. He retched for a long time, but he couldn't expel anything, thinking it was just a dream. After some time, the tiger's neck became long and thin, and he could no longer speak. He diligently patrolled Hollow Forest every day. People whispered among themselves. He started his Taoist practice with enthusiasm, but ended poorly. But his practice ended poorly. Bad translation. The master must have punished him, which is why he looks like this now. From now on, we'd best be careful. Once again, the moral of the story is, I guess, shit happens. Oh goody, I can make more stuff. I can craft more things. This is where I want to go, right? Yeah. Oh. This is brutal. This is going to be a very long episode to record. As in my temporal experience, relative temporal experience, it's going to be very long. I'm starting to feel pretty sick. As one does after getting a flu shot and a COVID booster on the same day. This is gonna get a little unhinged, I think, as my reality begins to unmoor. Oh, there's like an Amore one too. Great. I do think Tiger Snake is a cool design. Oh, well. Worm practitioner. Would you still love me if I were a worm? Swallowing pills to hasten flight, in tainted streams he shares the blight. Better to seek the straight and true than in crooked paths pursue. Disciples who practiced swordsmanship in the temple had been training under their master for a long time. Since joining the group, they had all harbored the wish to attain ascension, diligently practicing their skills with great perseverance. One day, the master finally informed his disciples that after years of rigorous training, their skills had become proficient. He told them that they could now follow him into the mountains for secluded meditation. If they were fortunate, they might achieve ascension and become immortals. The disciples were overjoyed and eagerly packed their belongings to follow their master into the mountains. The master led them using a teleportation technique to a breathtakingly beautiful mountain. The mountain was rustling golden leaves, presenting a scene of crisp, refreshing autumn weather. At the mountain's peak, there was a hamlet where they set down their belongings. The master then led them along a path behind the hamlet to the summit. There they saw strands of silk hanging in the air, with one end suspended in the mountain mist and the other reaching high into the clouds, destination unknown. The master said, "This is the celestial ladder to the immortal kingdom. Hundreds of years ago, your senior brother ascended to immortality from this very spot." With that, he handed each of them a peculiar object of a violet color and said, "This is a pill to aid your ascension. Quickly, my disciples, consume it." The disciples, filled with excitement, I lost my place at the top of the screen. I literally just am fading. Ugh. The disciples, filled with excitement, immediately swallowed by the larva-like objects. A few hesitated only to see a terrifying and disgusting scene. The disciples had taken the pills, had transformed into flat-headed, fleshy worms. Horrified, they questioned their master, shaking. The master shook his head and sighed. "When the opportunity arises, your courage fails, which makes you unfit to become immortals." Before his sigh had ended, the disciples who had transformed into worms lunged at them. Man, I'm in like a daze right now. I hate being sick. Oh my god! Alright, well, you really didn't capitalize on that. I would have full comboed you to death of that kind of opportunity. I'm so ready for this level to be over. Craft weapons. I can craft a new weapon? Oh my god. Oh, but I don't have everything I need for it. Okay, gold tree core. We'll have to find the place to get those. Craft armor. Alright, what do I want? What's going to be the most impactful armor pieces? I mean... Now I just need to make these, and I just don't have enough fine gold thread for it. How do I find more of that, is my question. And what goes in here? What's the beast stone? When using the gourd, grants considerable chance to take a sip without consuming gourd uses. Oh my god. That's crazy. Was that like the... I don't know what it's called. In my head, it's called the tangram, but that's probably not right because I don't know anything about Taoism. The trigrams, that's what they're called, not tangrams. It was cool that the mist manifests like that. Oh my god. Can you just, like, let up, please? Holy smokes. I like these birds. They're my favorite part of the level so far. I like that they're just regular birds. That's an enemy right there if I've ever seen one. I think it is. Try this. Yep, it's an enemy. I was so right. You guys see that? Do you see how right I was? That was crazy. That was nuts. All right. How many sparks have I gotten in all of this time? Have I gotten any? Yeah, I have one. Wow. Leveling up just seems superficial at this point. Like, just not superficial, superfluous. Just completely pointless. Because even grinding 80 levels basically did nothing for me, so what's the point? And nothing is really getting me close to another level, so, like... Alright, toaster. Just gotta boil water now. What? Oh, my might ran out. I see. When Commander Beetle, when faced with traps, one must pass the test. When fortune smiles, do know when to rest. If a man of great will must vent his zest, trade deeds for fame and rank with the best. This is how I feel. This is describing me. A young man from the village of Shaded Heights served at the county yamen. I don't know what that is. Running errands for the local government. The magistrate despised him and hindered his advances at every turn. One day, the magistrate learned of a Yaoguai haunting the village of Langshi. He sent the young man to investigate alone and hoped he'd never return. Aware of the magistrate's ill intent, the young man accepted the task without hesitation. He chose not to beg for his life in this. As he entered the desolate, eerie village, he was overcome with regret. But as night fell, and without knowledge of the mountain paths, he had no choice but to stay. He found a less dilapidated house with intact eaves, barred all doors and windows, and lit a lamp to steel himself for a long night, planning to depart at first light. Fear gripped him at midnight, so he practiced his swordplay to calm his nerves. After a while, a deep voice arose from the darkness above the rafters. I am a Yaogwai of this ridge. I meant to kill you, but your fine swordsmanship and the official blade, you must be a Yamen runner, yes? It's like a Blade Runner, but for Yamen, whatever that is. The young man was startled, but needed to voice his woes. He shared his ordeal with the Yaogwai and drew sighs of empathy. The Yaogwai said, I too was once an Imperial Guard, but a treacherous court official cursed me into a beetle to scrape by in these hills. I long for death, but I wish to pass on my sword skills to someone worthy. Now, if you're willing to learn my skills, I offer to teach you. The young man dared not to refuse. As he agreed, a beetle over 3 meters tall descended from the shadows. Its neck bore a thick carapace like a general's helm. The beetle wielded twin blades with a steadfast and forceful style that suited the young man's disposition. Overjoyed, the young man practiced with the beetle by the fading lamplight till dawn. As they parted ways, the beetle said kindly, The world these days is full of those lacking talent and virtue and ascending through flattery. Why tangle with them and sully yourself? Aim higher. A man should carve his own path. With a hearty laugh, the beetle left. This encounter changed the young man. He resigned from his position at the Yamen and enlisted in border armies. His superb swordsmanship elevated him to the rank of general. Leading the troops against foreign foes, he won victory after victory and became a famed commander. Who cares about hard work? Just be talented. You'll rise through the ranks that way. Stop trying to learn other skills and just be good at a sword. I think this game is going to cook my brain. Where am I going? Have I been here before? Did I just turn around? I think I did. I did. Okay, this was just turning around. Lost track completely of where I was going. Nice, it didn't consume the gourd. Is there anything actually over here for me to pick up? There is. I'm glad I came back this way. Give me the pill or whatever is in here. Tablet of the Three Supremes. It's a curio. What does that do? Moderately increased chance of obtaining materials from defeated enemies. Oh, that's golden carp. That's useful for grinding. Jade Moon Rabbit. Slightly increased damage reduction. This effect is enhanced when equipped with Gold Sun Crow, which I don't remember if I have. Considerably increases critical hit chance when health is low. That's like a critical build thing. I was reading online that critical builds in this are actually pretty good because it makes it so that your strong attacks deal like an extra 50% damage sometimes. But like, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth investing in. It seems inconsistent, which is already my problem with this game, so I don't know if I want more inconsistency. So if I could make it like Ragnarok Online where I can get like a 115% crit rate, like maybe that's useful. Just so that you always perma-crit. What's the point of having status... what's the point of having status resistance if enemies can just hit you and instant status you anyway? You know what I mean? God, what is up here? Don't... Okay, those aren't bosses. That's a statue. Good, fuck those statues. No one likes them anyway. Do I have new brewing tools? No, I don't. this could actually be really solid if we can upgrade it. What else is over here? Anything? We have a split path all of a sudden. It's over here. Is that a person? No, it's a worm. Oh, there's 2 worms. It could have been bad. There we go. Heal ourselves. Absorb. You know what? Let's just run back to the shrine. Let's just run back to the shrine. That sounds like a good idea to me. Yeah, there's nothing back here. Shrine time. It's time to shrine. You guys ready to get shrined on?